All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. There it is. I have a opening theme song stored in the portable mixer. Little delay, and it's going to drop off any minute without a fade out. So it will be an abrupt end. 2631540. That's what I'm talking about. But it's better than holding the cell phone up, because when I was holding the cell phone up, it wasn't even making its way through. So good morning, everybody. This is our last radio show live from New York City. Good morning, good morning, good morning. 253-263-540. And I'm so thankful, by the way. I mean, it's the epitome of overstaying. You're welcome. So I'm ready to go. And when can I stream the parks again? It's been a while. Well, the funny thing about that is they do sell tickets to the park. So it is available. I'm in New York, so we're going to just focus on this right now. We're going to take your calls. Yesterday, for you next. Imagine thinking that in the middle of a radio show, I could somehow hop on my broom and head to Epcot. But truly, if you look at pictures of the 19th Epcot, and it is amazing to see what transpired on those fairgrounds. I have been enamored with the 64-65 World's Fair since I've been a little kid. And don't know, the Small World attraction, the Carousel of Progress, to Disneyland. Ultimately, Carousel of Progress wound up in Disney World, Magic Kingdom. But the 1964-65 World's Fair was a celebration of states, a celebration of countries, of the future, and it represented progress and culture. So to go actually see it and to walk it, it was really, really amazing. I mean, it was a rainy day, it was gloomy, but it was empty. And the towers and walking around that pavilion, the state pavilion, I mean, it was just gorgeous. And I asked myself, why don't we have World's Fairs? To me, it seems to me, it's a lost opportunity. You know, and Epcot, and the reason that I love Epcot so much, is that Epcot is a World's Fair. So Nick is pulling up all these pictures, and I'm like, that's Epcot. He goes, no, that's the World's Fair. And it looked like the Japan Pavilion in Epcot. So it's kind of remarkable to think that all of this transpired on those fairgrounds of this site. So we drive on to the fairgrounds. It's a park. And Nick goes, all right, you want to go up to the Globe? And everybody knows the Globe from Men in Black and other things, but it's iconic. We're not supposed to drive up there. But he's like, let's just go drive up there and we'll park. And you know what? If security comes, we'll deal with it. And I'm like, that's fine. We'll go get a couple pictures up there. We shot a 360, caught the 360. There's one on Instagram just for fun. And then there's one that's a little more informative on TikTok. So we're sitting there prepping the 360 camera. And the security guard comes up to us and he goes, yes. But clearly he meant, are you working here? So he said, we're just getting pictures. He goes, well, you can't drive up here. I said, oh, our bad, my bad. He said, so finish doing what you're doing. And when you drive out, just put on your hazards, okay? I said, no worries. I said, how long have you been working here? A couple years. I said, have you ever been up to the tower? He goes, no, up there in the middle of the night one night because they thought a bunch of kids had climbed up the top of the tower. I was like, that's crazy. I was like, I hope you get to go in there one day. I was like, I hope I get to go in there one day. And he goes, well, why don't you just go park and go look around? I was like, copy that, sir. So we finished doing what we're doing. And we went live. I mean, it was about a 30-minute live from the fairgrounds. Google it online, and they had all of this, like, it wasn't acrylic. It almost looks like stained glass in the ceiling. I think it was fiberglass. But the craftsmanship and the fact that they decided to preserve this pavilion, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, you know, this pavilion has been preserved. These towers are still standing. And it's covered in scaffolding. They've been working for years to revitalize them, just to keep them thriving. But I'm like, you've preserved all this. Why not use it? Like, I mean, it's the New York State Pavilion. The transportation building from the World's Fair is still there. It used to have, I guess, a helicopter pad on it or something. But the transportation building is still there, and it turns out, because Nick went down a rabbit hole, turns out the transportation building is used for events. You can book that for banquets, so it's kind of like a banquet hall. But I'm looking at all this, and I'm saying, why can't we just bring this back? You have all of the space here. The land is practically untouched. There's a little petting, like, I don't know if it's a petting zoo. There's a little zoo, a very, very tiny amusement park. I mean, a tiny amusement park, like super small, just a couple little rides. And nothing but land. So I'm looking at this from the perspective of history is like it's standing right there on the side of the road. And when I was talking to this guard, he's like, I went to school across the street. He's like, I grew up here and I never came over to these fairgrounds. Not until I got a job here. So you have this marvelous piece of Americana, which in turn is a piece of Disney Parks history as well, sitting here in Queens, just waiting for somebody to take the lead, because the 1964-65 World's Fair started with a few businessmen coming together with an idea, and then it snowballed. So it really just takes a couple guys to come together and go, let's do it. I can't imagine why we couldn't build another World's Fair at the site of the 64-65 World's Fair if the core buildings that represent the fair are still standing and there's a desire to preserve them. Then there's got to be a desire to bring back the World's Fair. So I didn't expect to have this visceral response. I'm not going to say I forgot about the towers, because if you look at the Theme Park Factory logo on Joe Coconut's shirt when I was designing that next arcade esports maker space that I was building, if you look at the logo, it's the pavilion, it's the towers, and then just kind of composited the globe and then added a roller coaster, which didn't exist. So I've been enamored with this imagery for quite some time. But like in the moment we pulled up, I forgot that the towers were still there. So I was expecting to see the globe. And then we pull up and there's a pavilion and the towers, and I chills down my spine. I can't explain it. And then on the way out, Nick was like, I got to go this way. I think there's like a park restroom. Let's go use the park restroom, which was over by this little tiny amusement park. And now at this point, we're on the other end of the field from the towers. We're standing at a vantage point that I didn't even know existed, if you will. And this is when I was able to lay my eyes on that tower for the first time. And I'm telling you, I mean, that had to have been 3 or 4 football fields in distance of just wide open park, empty land, just filled with opportunity. So I look at that and go, we're sitting here talking about Disney. We're sitting here talking about Disney, wiping away aspects of a theme park. And it just got me thinking yesterday, well, the heck with Bob Iger. There's only so much you can do talking about, oh, you're getting rid of this, you're getting rid of that, you're raising prices. But if you want to get back to some real history, if you want to get back to the roots, why not focus on a World's Fair? I mean, you could literally get this thing kicked off with a couple businessmen. A couple New York City business guys come together, they decide they want to do the World's Fair, and then we're off to the races. And I think not only would this be an amazing opportunity to celebrate the country, I think it would be, and bring people together. It would be an amazing opportunity, much like the Olympics, to celebrate the international community. And it would be an amazing business opportunity to highlight technology and the future potential You know, I mean, why not? Apple's got all the money in the world. Why not have a World's Fair? You get Apple, you get Tesla, you get Google, you get whoever you want. Get McDonald's for. I mean, listen, this McDonald's has been in the news all year long. So I don't care who you get at this point, but get all of these companies together and let's fund this thing. Let's do it. I don't see a reason not to. In fact, I think quite the opposite. I think when you look at how divided people are, and when you look at the level of vitriol that exists in our society, I would argue that something of this magnitude could be really, really good for bringing people together, because not only would it spark an opportunity for conversation and a vision for the future, but I mean, it would be an amazing party, right? I mean, it would be an amazing, like the 64-65 World's Fair. If you start to look up those images, pull up those pictures, and realize how long this thing lasted, and how massive it was, and how busy it was. I'm just saying, we are in need of some sort of like adrenaline shot in the arm, or the reaction to the United Healthcare CEO's murderer, and how people are propping this guy up. And, that level of anger has to be brought down. I mean, and I get it. Pretense, and just celebrate everything that's worth celebrating. And then just, again, the prospect of opportunity, and the things that I talk about with the rivers of America, looking out over the water, looking at frontier land and seeing opportunity in the American dream, a part of the World's Fair. So I'm just griping, but I think that it would be of some real value. And I seeing that land for the first time in person, it's just sitting there. It is ripe. And I can't imagine that somebody couldn't come along and kick that thing off. It would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing. I mean, one of these tech companies could pull it off in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Google, Apple have been to Disneyland. You will see relics of the World's Fair, not just in Small World, because that ride was the World's Fair. It started there, sponsored by Pepsi. But you will see elements of the, I think it was the Ford Skyway. You will see elements of genius of Walt Disney taking on the 64-65 World's Fair was that he got free rides. He literally got hired to build attractions for a client, and then he got to keep them. So not only did he get to keep attractions that he would then bring back to the parks, but they got I think that's why so many of us love it. So I'm just looking at this and thinking, for all of the energy spent on trying to convince some corporate leaders to reverse course, why don't we focus rabbit hole? So that's my World's Fair rant. Has anybody gone to the World's Fair? That's what I want to know. Is there anybody out there that actually went? Because there's been times we've been on Carousel of Progress, and somebody said, oh, I went to the World's Fair, or my 65 World's Fair. I would love a little insight. I would love it. 253-263-1540. Thank you over there on TikTok for your support. Hey now, Peach. 253-263-1540. This may be an unpop because I am ready to go. I'm ready to get out of here. And I'm so appreciative that I'm able to do this here. But listen, if this was my place, I'd be like, can this guy leave already? So I'm ready to go back to Disney World. But for the sake of conversation, let's go back to Disney World. There is this thing going on TikTok with this, with the Christmas parade. What is it, Tally? And all over my feed is Tally. And I can't click not interested quick enough. You know what I'm talking about? There's this cast member, and now you have all these people obsessed over him, and they're chasing him down to make content. Now I'm reading, I'm seeing videos that are being sent to me about people stalking, character stalking and all of this, exposing the guy's name, all of these different things. So here's my unpopular opinion. The idea that people are so obsessed that not only do they need to seek him out to create content, but they want to seek him out to find out more information about him, and then, basically upend his privacy by highlighting his personal social media accounts and all of these things. And I don't think that's appropriate at all. At all. You went to the World's Fair at all. Obviously, I think it's problematic. And you're not doing the cast member any favors. And yesterday I opened up the app, and almost every other video is this tally, right? And everybody seems to like him. I think it's creepy. I personally think it's creepy. Number one. Okay, number one, unpopular opinion, I think it's creepy. Number two, I think the desire to go out there and find a character, because essentially a character in the park is now trending, is up leaders. This level of exploitation is dangerous. Disney adults stalking this guy in the park at a parade for content is one thing. But then finding him on social media and trying to track him down, it's creepy. I think not interested. That's number one. So I think tally's creepy, number one. Number two, I think stalking a character in the parks for content at that level is really, really disturbing. And I think the company is going to be forced to address this at a much larger level. Go watch any of these videos of this cast member. He's looking out of the corner of his eye in every single video, seeking the camera. Go look. In every single video, he's looking for the camera so he can go up to the camera so he can catch the video. Look, he clearly is looking for attention. So I don't like it. I think it's cringy, to Mandy's point. I think him seeking the camera is as bad as people seeking out him. So my suggestion to the Disney company is to eradicate, created a series of issues. And when you can tell, quite honestly, that the cast member is playing to the camera because he loves the attention, then you got to ask yourself, where did the problem? Because the cast member wants attention. You know, if you're a Disney cast member, you can't do press. You can't go do press as a Disney cast member. So the idea that this guy is now out there basically playing to the media, because whether you like it or not, it's media. It's not news, but it's media. But he's playing to it, right? He's playing to it for his own self-interest, for himself outside of the park. So it's problematic all the way around, and this is why I think it's time for the Walt Disney Company to clamp down on content creators. They don't need the advertising. They're charging more than enough money. They're making money. So what? Let's remind you, you can travel now. Come to Disney. Let's show you. Now, we're way past that. All right? The pandemic and the post-pandemic nonsense is beyond us. Why do we need all these content creators in the park? About right now, Frank, is the Tally character. And I'm telling you, every time this guy pops up in my feed, I click not interested. I think he's creepy. I think the people pursuing him are 253-263-1540. If you've gone to the World's Fair, I'd love to hear about it. Honestly, even if you were a kid, okay? I would love to hear from you about the World's Fair. It's cringy. And I'm telling you, go look at these videos. He's looking for the camera. He'll be on the other side of the parade, and he'll see an iPhone and out of the corner of his eye, and then he'll run over there to somebody right next to the phone to give them the video. And I'm sorry. So I think that this is problematic on both sides. Unpopular opinion, so be it. I think it's all cringe. And I think, quite frankly, when you go to a theme park, if you're more concerned with pursuing a cast member than you are enjoying the parks, then you need to reevaluate your priority. Now is all over social media, and now it's become a trendy thing to do. And I think that I've talked over the years about the Walt Disney Company, like most big companies, not being proactive, being reactive. And it will be something that happens in a scenario like this that will redefine the way Disney handles content creators and streamers in the park. And I advocate for a solid band of all of it. You don't need it. You don't need it, Disney. You can have your own in-house team. You can pay a bunch of college kids with 15,000 followers each, minimum wage, to do your bidding, because you don't want to pay anybody with talent to do the work for you at a real wage, because that's your MO. All right? And then you get rid of everybody. You're welcome. Get rid of them all. You don't need them. When you've got people in the parks creating content that gets people that work for you on your hands. And that is what's going to force the company to react. It is a major liability. It's huge. It's huge. So that's my gripe on that. And then all my Fortnite players out there, we're still in the world of Disney. You know, we started playing Fortnite on the stream long before Disney bought into Fortnite. And never in a million years did I think I would ever, ever, ever spend money in Fortnite. In fact, when I owned the arcade, we had everybody could watch Qbert projected on one wall. And then on the other side was a movie screen. And on the movie screen, you could play anything. And I would put up, cartoons, or I'd pipe in a Street Fighter match or something. And I remember kids coming in and going, "Can you put Fortnite up on the wall?" And I'd be like, "There's 100 fast forward, I must have a dozen of them." And that all started because I was streaming it, right? So it changed my perspective. But come to find out, there was a class action lawsuit, and Fortnite, Epic Games, is paying out $72 million. It is an average of over like $110 per player, okay? And Epic was doing something kind of unscrupulous where kids were accepting transactions without parental approval because Epic had kind of set it up to trick kids into approving transactions. So I'm saying this because I know I have a lot of parents watching. So you may not even be aware of this story, and you may not even be aware that you're eligible. So whether you play Fortnite or whether you have a kid who's playing Fortnite, a couple Epic accounts I didn't realize, so I got to find the right one. But the payout is going to average to about $110 or $112 a user. So I know a lot of folks don't even realize, maybe you don't even know what your kids are up to on Fortnite, but go check it out. Go check it out. Your Epic handle, and then they'll find you. So go do that if you are a Fortnite player or you got kids that are on Fortnite. Epic Games, $72 million payout. Thank you. I gotta talk about this United, this Luigi. I gotta talk about this. As much as I want to focus on Disney, I gotta get to this because this guy wanted to get caught. I mean, and by the way, when you call in 253-263-1540, we've talked about Tally the Elf. We've talked about the World's Fair. We've talked a little bit about the Fortnite, the conversation. That's what we're doing here. But this guy had to have. There's no question is, why were you still in the tri-state area, right? Like that alone, and then to still have the weapon and have a computer, like wanted to get caught. But what's the question is, who pulled this guy's Twitter feed? There just seems to be a lot going on with the story. And then if you start to go down the rabbit holes, it is quite apparent that this guy had relation to the nursing home industry and tied to local government. So it's quite interesting if you go down that rabbit hole. And I think there's a lot more to find out. But clearly, this guy wanted to be found. Good morning, Ethan. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hello, Royce.
Hello.
Hello, Royce.
Can you hear me?
Brother, long-time listener, first-time caller.
I love it.
Long, my dear friend.
Long time, first time. What's on your mind, sir?
All right, well, I just want to touch base about the World's Fair in '64. And so, don't have a lot, because I was a little kid back then. But the reason we were mom's sister, they lived in Jamaica, Queens. So we were able to come down from upstate New York and go to the World's Fair. And the only things I really remember are the thing that you kind of, rode on. That was kind of neat. The big Uniroyal, I believe it was. I don't think it was Goodyear. It might have been
even know, Vinny. I didn't even know about that tire. And I've been a World's Fair geek for a long time. And when we got back to Nixon, I don't think he expected to be like so blown away. I didn't.
It was just like a Ferris wheel. It's like, like I said, I don't know. I was positive it was sponsored by Uniroyal, but it could have been Goodyear. But I almost was positive. I just remember that. In fact, speaking of that, I actually got that. I actually got that as a toy souvenir to bring home was that Uniroyal Ferris wheel. Of course, it was still in mint condition today. It'd probably be worth a boatload of money. Well, not a boatload, but it'd be more than what I paid for it. But I got that. I said, remember the Unisphere. And I don't remember progress or anything like that. I don't even know if we went on it. We could have. I just forgot it. Being a little kid, I might have thought it was. And I actually got lost. And they were like looking for me for like 15 minutes. And they actually were able to find me and corral me. But
Wow.
the few things I remember, those little elements that I remember, even though I don't remember the entirety of the day, it was just those little things that just stuck out. That was pretty crowded. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder with people, but it was totally a really cool and incredible experience. I'm glad I was able to remember at least whatever little bit of it I could.
Have you been back to the?
I worked on Long Island in '89. I went back and stumbled on, just like walked around. I was working for the Nature Conservancy in 1989 doing wildlife biology stuff, and my travels would have me go past the World Fair ground, Flushing Meadows and all that, like maybe going through like the revitalization and kind of sprucing it up like they're doing now. It was still, you can still see the stuff, you can still walk up to it, but
Okay,
wouldn't want to be hanging around there at nighttime.
but here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy. 19.
Wow. I never even, at that time, I never even thought of it and put it together. I thought of it.
And now
Yeah,
look, I
it's
mean,
crazy. And it's fun.
we're 25 years into the millennium, into the century. Like I can't fathom that as a kid, because I would have been 8 years old in 1989. I can't kid 25 years seems so far away. But now I look at
where the time goes. But and speaking of World's Fair, we went to that one, and also as a kid, and I remember this a little more better. We actually went to the World's Fair in, I believe it was '69 in Montreal. That was pretty cool. That was a cool experience.
So was the 64-65 World's Fair the last?
Probably totally wrong, but I could have sworn that Knoxville, somewhere in Kentucky, they had it. They called it a World's Fair, but I don't know if it was ever 80. After that one, I don't think they've ever had another actually true World's Fair in this, definitely not in this country.
Well, I think we got to bring it back. I listen. We got to bring it back. We got to bring it back. I mean,
yeah.
we are so messed up as a people. I would argue that we don't even have culture, and I can only imagine how packed those grounds were. But to have something like that,
oh my God,
to bring people together, you know what I mean? I mean, we don't even have events anymore. We don't. Growing up, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. I don't know about you, because I'm a tri-state guy. I'm an East Coaster. And I remember water cooler television at its finest. Whatever the show was, Cheers, whatever you were watching.
Right.
Shout out to my good friend Frazier, who refuses to give me an autograph. But anyway, what I'm saying.
I saw that video. That was pretty cool.
What a day, Vinny. Wait till you see the vlog I put together for this whole trip. So, because I don't know if did you catch the live with the homeless guy trying to negotiate a meal with me?
Oh no, I missed that one. I gotta look at that. No.
I said I'd buy him a slice of pizza. Then he asked if I would take him to Applebee's for all-you-can-eat chicken wings.
Only in New York.
You took the words out of my mouth. Only in New York, man.
Yeah, only in the city. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Funny. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, where I live, and it's funny. And it's funny because I live like an hour and a half. I mean, from my front door to the heart of Times Square, I can get there in an hour and a half. But it's funny. I remember your videos and your lives when you're down in Atlantic City,
Yeah.
dude, you're like, I'm like a half hour from you, from Atlantic City. So the next time I ever see you on a live, I'm going to try to get down there and run into you, at least shake your hand.
That'd be cool, man. It's
In
funny.
Atlantic
Like,
City, because
go ahead. We got a delay. I have too much technology. I got the Bluetooth. We have like a 10-second delay. But go on.
yeah, I was going to say, the next time you're in live, hopefully I can get to catch you and just shake your hand down in Atlantic City, because that's home for me.
I love that, man.
I'm not in Atlantic. I'm north. I'm north of there by a half hour. I'm a half hours.
Now, Vinny, as a tri-stater from one to another,
Yep.
You sound exactly like I thought you did.
Really?
Yeah, that's a compliment. Because like I read the chat all day, and you put voices to people's like the way they write, and like you just sound like an East Coast Vinny.
Yeah. I was born in Louisiana, but from the age of 2 on, I lived in upstate New York, Rensselaer County, right outside of Albany.
Okay.
That was my whole life, and then for the last 35 years, I've been down in New Jersey. The job working as a wildlife biologist was what brought me to New Jersey. And I've been here ever since with my wife and raised a stepdaughter, and we're happy little clams.
I love that, man. So Vinny, what I was saying before I went on that tangent with you about the homeless guy getting a little too greedy is the shared experiences. Before we had a fragmented media landscape, you'd had water cooler television, so everybody had a shared experience. You'd come into work the next morning or school, and it would be like, "Did you see that episode?" And I think that we don't have any connected tissue, so there's no like how do you relate to people? Like if we're not even watching the same things, if we don't even have anything to talk about on a very like surface level, then how can you even go below the surface?
Right. Correct.
So that's just the thing. I think of that, because growing up, there was only so many things to watch. And I mean, I remember my parents would be like, we only had 3 channels on the dial. Well, now I could tell kids, we only had 25 channels. You have 500. You have 5,000. Everybody was watching Seinfeld. Sure. And you would go into work, you would go into school the next morning, and everybody was talking about the Tweety Bird Pez dispenser or whatever it was. And I feel like that, as silly as that sounds, it kind of, without being blatant, is a way to remind people that we all like exist in the same space and time because of a shared experience. So I would argue a shared stand either of these people. Who do I have to call?
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I can't stand anybody, Vinny. So it's all a level playing field. But like, I mean, everybody else lines up. You know how this goes. Anyway,
lagging again.
Do you have pictures of the World's Fair? Do you have photos from your time there?
No, unfortunately, I don't have any photos. I mean, I'm sure there were, but in the years, since all my aunts have passed, my parents have passed. Those have just been printed in my mind, and I just have to rest on those. I don't recall any pictures of them.
Do you have the little tire toy?
Oh, I wish that toy Ferris wheel is long gone, unfortunately. But yeah, I remember playing with that thing. You had the Ferris wheel, and they actually, with the Ferris wheel, they gave you like little tiny miniature people that you could put in the Ferris wheel and watch it go around. Yeah,
oh my God! All I'm thinking is a choking hazard.
Well, back then, but that they included with it were probably in these little. There was like a couple of open compartments in the tire Ferris wheel that you would put it in, so it would look like a full Ferris wheel going around. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But
I had it.
but for something like this to go on as long as it did, like this, it was a.
Sure, for the days that it ran, and I don't know what the time frame was. If it was like 3 weeks or whatever. I don't know what the time frame was, but I'm sure any attendance records, they were like literally breaking them by the day. I mean, that was, next to Beatlemania first, and then probably the World's Fair in New York. That was it. That was Catch Meow, man.
You said Beatlemania, and I got chills. I mean, like, what a time to be alive, the 50s to the 60s.
Yeah, it's 64. That's when the Beatles came in. We needed that after 63 with Kennedy being assassinated. So that was a boot. That was the boost that America kind of needed to get back in the place, as it were, because we lost our innocence.
Do you think kids even know who Ed Sullivan is?
Small letters. It'll be like the Ed Sullivan Theater. There'll be small little letters, and then it'll say, Colbert and stuff,
Yeah, but when Letterman was there, it said really big on the top of the marquee, the Ed Sullivan Theater, and then it said the Letterman Show.
Bro, yeah, I'll take a look and see. Cause we'll be going there. We'll be going to New York City next week to see a show. But I'm almost positive that somewhere on the marquee it'll say like Ed Sullivan Theater. So,
I hope so. I mean, that's the problem I have is we're so quick to erase history, and if you continually the value of preserving history is that it's a reflection, and whether you agree with history or not, it's a learning opportunity. People don't realize that when Elvis went on Ed Sullivan, they only showed from his waist up because the idea of his legs gyrate too sexual.
I know. Can you imagine? Lord.
Could you imagine if they had Megan Thee Stallion on Ed Sullivan? Forget it. Ed Sullivan would have a heart attack.
Oof.
Who?
Yeah.
He said who?
Yeah, man. True.
Vinny, thank you for calling in, man. I'm so glad you've been watching for years.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. What's that?
You've been watching for years.
Well, yeah, I have, and I loved every bit of your lives.
Well, thank you, sir. You have a great day and a wonderful holiday.
Okay, you too. We'll be in touch. Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
Vinny. Thanks, sir. All right, that's Vinny. And look, I'm not done with the parks. I know everybody says, "Oh, we loved you in the parks and all that." I'm not done with the parks, but we're growing. And in many ways, I mean, look, I have never spoken to Vinny before. Vinny's been watching for years. So in many ways, this is an extension of the time we can't do running around. But the idea that Vinny, as a child, got to go to the World's Fair, okay, and can have even just a glimpse of those memories, I am so envious because I'm picturing what he's talking about because we were looking on Google Images last night. I didn't even know that tire Ferris wheel existed. I love that. I want more World's Fair stories. 253-263-1540. That's what it's all about. Thank you for that, Vinny. That's what I'm saying. I love that. Absolutely love that. That is a lot of fun. So, I think it was last week or the week before. This is going back to Disney. I believe it says it right here. It's only one checkout station at All-Star Sports. But as a response to this, the union has requested bargaining over the pilot project, saying that they will fight to protect every cast member's job, and AI should not be used by any company as an excuse. I'm going to say that. However, when you have a hiring problem and when you choose to not pay people the wage that they deserve, I would propose the following. Use AI to replace S members, and now you can pay them a better wage with the savings you've generated from implementing AI in other areas. So while you may eliminate some jobs, you could, in theory, pay other people a better wage for the job they're doing, so create a savings so that you can then go pay other cast members a proper wage. Because I think at the end of the day, if you're using AI to replace checkout in some of the resorts, okay, those cast members don't have to lose their job. There's plenty of other places that they can go. All right. But I would also say that if you look around at the tech people, if you look around at the live entertainment, if you look around, you look at all of these different folks that contribute to the park in a front facing way, they're all underpaid. So maybe AI coming in and creating, and this kind of goes back to that clip that that I played of Ben Affleck a few weeks back, talking about the value of AI, in terms of post production and creating a cost savings. And the point that he made was that cost saving, because I don't think the union necessarily is thinking this way. I think the union is thinking about the union and the amount of members. But theoretically, using AI in situations like that would allow you to then to take funds and redistribute them to catch a proper wage for what they do for the company is absolutely necessary. And if you look, and I have a interview I did with a cast member who's still at the parks. I haven't released it yet. It's a completely anonymous interview. But what you'll hear in that interview, incentivized cast members. So what am I saying? Cast members aren't making necessarily enough money, and the incentives that were there to keep them going have been stripped away. So if you're not, you might free up some dollars to reallocate to those underpaid cast members. So now maybe instead of having to lower your quality of standard for hiring, you can actually raise your standard quality, okay, and have a better hiring pool to choose from. And then in turn, that will increase the guest experience, that will elevate the guest experience in the park, because now you will be paying people a proper wage. They will feel like they have been appreciated, and they will perform, and you will hire people that will feel that way and function that way, because they will feel as though they are being compensated for their performance. You see what I'm saying? So I don't see AI as this big scary ghost in every situation. I think it's an opportunity to unlock a savings, and it just comes down to the company to take that savings and use it in a meaningful way. Better talent, then maybe your parks will look better. Maybe your parks will run better. Just a crazy idea. Just a crazy idea. If you actually pay people, the thing with the Walt Disney Company for the longest time, and Eisner was the king of this. One of the stories is Robin Williams is the genie on Aladdin. They paid him union scale for that performance when he should have made millions of dollars. But it was the Disney Company, and he wanted to make a movie that his kids would enjoy. And time again, the Walt Disney Company's MO has been to dangle in the books. It's in Keys to the Kingdom. It's even touched on in Bob Iger's book. So maybe, and again, you'll hear this in the anonymous interview when that comes out, and that probably will come out next week. But maybe if you get dangled over their head, maybe you would see an immediate reversal of some of the worst aspects of the quality of the parks right now. That's rides being down too often. That's garbage cans overflowing with trash, okay? That's sinks not working in bathrooms. I mean, all of these different things, right? Like, if you paid people, right, and didn't say, hey, I'm not going to pay you a great wage, but you get free park tickets. But if you actually paid people what they deserve to be paid. And I went to get hired the second time for Disney. By the second time I applied to work for Disney, they had lowered the hiring restrictions. So now they were hiring people with piercings and visible tattoos. That is something that Disney never used to do because it didn't fit with the brand image. But it was really hard to hire people post-pandemic because people got so much free money that nobody wanted to work. And I remember when I went for the ride tech job, before they met me in person, so Disney's very cognizant of this playbook of theirs. And I would argue that you could tighten up your restrictions. You could tighten up your restrictions if you actually chose to pay people what they're worth. Imagine that. I know a lot of cast members, I've seen this guy going and eating. He gets his college wage. They're going to take his money for housing. Okay, and then the little bit of money he's got left, he's going to go spend on a lightning lane. He's going to go spend on food at the commissary at Hollywood Studio. You know what I'm saying? So Disney knows. And I've said this 100 times over the years. Disney parks are run by college kids and retirees. Because anybody that exists in the middle, unless they're getting paid a fair wage, they're not going to buy into that. Okay, but retirees and college kids, and they trade on the lore of Disney magic. And I've seen it. So these college kids get next to, it's the college program at Walt Disney World is one of the biggest scams. Okay? And as much as I know Kale wants to talk about this stuff, I don't want to get him in trouble. So I'll talk about this stuff. But and there was a lawsuit a while back, and I think it was it Pepsi? Pepsi or Coke? Somebody was building a college housing for Disney to house college kids. And then I think Disney started charging the college kids for it, and then they got sued by Pepsi or Coke, whoever it was. Go look it up. But the college program is a scam. They bring in these college kids. They pay the minimum wage. They charge them an asinine amount of money for housing. Okay. And then they take every single dollar back. So I would just suggest, I get the union's going to go, oh my God, AI, you shouldn't replace any workers. The union doesn't care about workers. The union only cares about warm bodies in the union. Okay? At the end of the day, the right move here is to use AI to create a savings and then redistribute those funds to those who actually deserve a proper wage. Now, I don't suspect the company will do that. But that's my argument for AI. I personally have seen, even in the last couple of weeks, the real value of AI as a tool. And I think we have to stop looking at AI as just like deep fakes and disingenuous content and stealing the likeness of actors. All of those things can be managed and reconciled. But using artificial intelligence as a supplement, as a tool, I think is really, really compelling. I mean, I that whole thing I did with Kelsey Grammer, if you caught the video with me and Kelsey Grammer, I didn't have a microphone. I didn't know what was happening. I just had the extra phone on me with the kickstand. I plopped it down. Now, in the back of my mind, I knew I could use AI to make that audio work. Okay, it's not my preferred way to do it. If I was in an environment where I could have, I would have hooked up a mic, but there was no time. So here I am with this video, and I go and I use a little AI, one click, and it cleans out the noise and it brings the audio to the forefront, right? I was pulling clips for the podcast the other day. I uploaded the podcast. AI does a transcription. I can then use text to edit the video. So now I'm literally selecting text and AI is generating the video. So there are aspects of AI that I think are really beneficial. And when we're talking about the Walt Disney Company, if you're using AI as a cost savings, then I hope you decide to redistribute those funds to other cast members. I know you won't, but that's the proper argument. It shouldn't be about taking away jobs. It should be about offsetting labor so that you can increase the quality of your hiring pool, so that you can have folks working for you that are committed to the level of excellence that people expect from the Disney brand. When I walk into Disney World and I see trash on the ground, all right, and I see sinks not working in the bathroom, sensors not working, and I see an empty paper towel dispenser, and then I leave that area and I see chip paint on a railing, you have to ask yourself, where's the breakdown? Because at a certain point, there's got to be management walking around seeing these things. Is it a lack of interest? Is it a lack of desire? Or is it you just don't have the right people in those positions? Maybe you're hiring the wrong people to look at to manage the park because you're not paying them enough. I shouldn't tell this story, but I'm going to anyway. When I first moved to Lake Buena Vista, I lived right down the street from Port Orleans. And one day I actually streamed the walk because I didn't have a car yet. And it took 45 minutes to walk from my house to the Walt Disney headquarters, are just skyscrapers in New York City. I can see buildings anywhere. So if you were to leave where I used to live, it took 45 minutes to walk to Port Orleans. But I would Uber. One day, I get in an Uber, and the guy that picked me up in the Uber was a manager at the Magic Kingdom for concessions. But he wasn't making enough money as a manager that he had to Uber. And I, at the time, hadn't been hired and was like, oh, if I see you in the park, he's like, hey, if you ever come to the park, come find me and we'll talk. But don't tell anybody that I'm Ubering. I don't think he thought that I was going to go to the park and look for him. But I did. I know his name, too. He's probably, I don't even know if he's still there. But he was the manager of concessions in the Magic Kingdom, and he was Ubering at night because he wasn't making enough money. That is the problem. That's the problem right there. So, again, you want to use AI to help out workers, great. But the only real way to do it is to take care of those that you can't offset with AI. And when you're not paying your managers enough, you can't expect that the people they're managing are going to be doing their job effectively if you're not paying their boss enough. And he's certainly not going to manage them properly because he's not incentivized. And can you imagine if you're out all night Ubering and then you got to come in the morning and manage a bunch of college kids, but you're underpaid and you've been up all night Ubering? That's ridiculous. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Disneyland's known for cast members sleeping in their cars because they're homeless. Meanwhile, Bob Iger's got how many yachts? Even if he's got one yacht, it's one too many. The C-suite is flooded with executive level compensation. There's no excuse for a manager at the parks to have to Uber at night because you're not paying them enough. No excuse. You cheap out on your attractions and your rethemes, so you know you're saving money there. Where are all the savings going? Are all the savings? Look, I'm glad you raised your dividends. I'm thrilled you raised the dividends. Awesome. Give me more money. But take care of your people. Take care of your people. It's unconscionable that a manager should be Ubering. I've never even talked about that before. That was years ago. I bet you he's still there. Wild to think about. Wild to think about. And we're going to have all these anonymous cast member interviews coming out. The first one should be coming out next week. I've changed the voice of the cast member to preserve and protect their position. And we're going to start peeling back the curtain. And you're going to hear it right from the horse's mouth. So if you're a cast member out there listening and you want to reach out to me, not only will you have anonymity, all right, but you will have the freedom to tell your story. And mark my words, they can stop me at the gate and tell me that they'll ban me from the parks without coughing up names. I'll never cough up the names. So I will be releasing these interviews from time to time as a way for you to hear directly from cast members about how things are running behind the scenes. So that's important to me. If you're a cast member out there and that's something you want to do, again, reach out to me. I have your back. It's all good. I've already got a few cast members lined up, and they know that I won't. Unlike McDonald's, I'm not going to narc anybody out. All right? 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. I saw like the fake tweet that Burger King was like, we don't narc. Not that I think it's a joke, right? Not that I think that what transpired at McDonald's was narking. I mean, the guy deserved to get turned in. Obviously, he murdered somebody. But it's why, and I'm now back on that. But it's wild to me that that the guy, for as smart as he was just out there in the open. And the only explanation I have is he was dying to be caught. Let me just get far enough out of the city that you got to work for it, but let me stay just close enough and let me flaunt it just enough that you'll find me. And then you see the video of him walking into the courthouse yelling and screaming. So he wanted his moment, you know? He wanted his moment. Oh, you're saying that the Disney headquarters is nice. Of course it's nice and clean. It's sterile. But go look at the design of the Disney headquarters. I mean, there's no aesthetic to it. I mean, the Barry Diller has a nicer building. IAC has a nicer building. Much nicer building. I did see that the person who turned in the killer may not get the reward. And I was reading the article on that and trying to understand the logistics behind that. Maybe not logistics, but the logic behind that. And it didn't make sense. It just sounded like another scam, quite frankly. So, and if you remember originally, what was it? $10,000 was the original offer. So, I heard that he had a bunch of YouTube stuff. Yeah. So, listen. What Tokyo's doing as far as paying their cast members and what happens here, it doesn't correlate. $10K from the NYPD. Now we're having 4 conversations at once because I'm looking at the chat. But let's do a couple things here. The $10,000 offer. The $10,000 offer to me was a joke. So then they offer $60,000, and now you're not going to pay it out. How dare you? All you're doing there is all you're doing there is saying to the next person that does this, nobody will turn them in. So if you don't pay this person the $60K, all that's going to happen is when the next person murders a CEO, nobody's going to turn them in because they know they're not going to get the money. So what are you really doing, FBI? Are you asking people to continue to do this? Are you asking people not to I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not going to give people the money that they're supposed to get, you might actually be encouraging them to be a copycat because you're only proving the point. You know what I'm saying? I would suggest you pay the $60K. Otherwise, the next time this happens, nobody's going to turn anybody in. Now, as far as Tokyo wages are concerned, the value of the yen is, I mean, they're two different economies. So to say that the lowest paid worker in Tokyo and compare that to Disneyland, it's a non-starter. They're two different economies. The value of the dollar is different over there. The cost of living is different over there. The whole thing is different. So you can't compare them. Bottom line is there's no excuse for a Disneyland cast member to be sleeping in their car. Bottom line. But Tokyo, I mean, look, I hear stories about the way they treat the cast members in Tokyo, and it's crazy. And the Oriental Land Company is run by the mob. Okay, so it's a whole different conversation. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. So yeah, I love Tokyo. I'm not saying that they're perfect over there. I just don't think you can compare them. Because even if you convert the dollars, it's not an apples to apples comparison. But yes, as gorgeous and as amazing as Tokyo is, it is absolutely accurate to say that there is a documented history of mistreated cast members in Tokyo. But again, the Oriental Land Company, I mean, it's the mob. What do you expect? But quite frankly, I'd rather have the mob running Disney World, running Disney at this point in the States if it's going to mean that the parks look better. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, the mob pretty much runs our government, right? Let them run our theme parks. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. I got to do the ads before I forget. Let me do the sponsors, and then we'll go back to the phone. Ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots and pans and knives. Plus, don't miss out on all the small appliances like deluxe air fryers, coffee makers, to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And Colleen told me she sent me a package today from Pampered Chef, so I'll share that with you when I get home. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most. At the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy, we fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. She fights for your rights. I'm just reading the ad. We're here to guide you through every step of the way. Call now 305-213-5438 for a free consultation today. You don't pay unless they win. Focus on the healing and let Nicole M. Kennedy handle the rest. 305-213-5438. Call today for your free consultation. Last minute shipping from the parks. Go check out my friends at the UPS store located right behind the Magic Kingdom at 6526 Old Brick Road. They will help you package up that last minute impulse purchase from the park so you don't have to schlep it on the airplane. 6526 Old Brick Road. That's my friends there at the UPS store. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. And if you're local, they've got a notary and P.O. boxes. I highly recommend. And as always, if you're looking to travel, William.bailey will help you out. William.bailey is the expert when it comes to destination planning, Disney cruises, or just a cruise. Maybe you're looking to explore another country. Check out William.bailey. William.bailey at academytravel.com. You can also go to royces.com and fill out the form on my website. We are planning a Tokyo group trip. So check out William Bailey, William.bailey at academytravel.com for all your travel needs. And sometimes we are so worried about this life in this moment, we forget to plan for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. A will or trust is not just for the Rockefellers anymore if you live in Florida. Contact RK Law today to make an appointment and safeguard the future of those you love. Send an email to Russell at rklawpro.com to schedule your appointment today. That's Russell at rklawpro.com. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We have these sponsors through the end of the year. If you have a small business and you're looking to advertise on the podcast, you can reach out to me. There's also an advertising form you can fill out. I think that link has been added to the Discord. You can always ask and we'll drop that link again, or just shoot me a message. So thank you to our sponsors. They're with us for the rest of the year. 253-263-1540. I wanted to do today's radio show live from TikTok, and I was trying to coordinate that. And I have a feeling they're going to tell me that I can do a live radio show from TikTok tomorrow morning. I just have a feeling. And I also have a feeling that when they do that, I'll already be heading to the airport. That I'm predicting that now. So just remember that. Because I said I want to come and do a show. I thought it'd be cool to go live and broadcast the radio show from TikTok. And I got a text yesterday afternoon saying that we're waiting for an answer. I am sure of it that as soon as I decide to leave, because I'm trying to switch my flight, as soon as I pull that trigger, they're going to be like, yeah, come on over. So just remember I said that. Now, in other news, I didn't even know that this was a thing, but I guess Kroger and Albertsons were trying to merge, and the merger just got shot down. I'm ready to go back to Orlando. Anyway, so I saw this thing. Kroger and Albertsons, the merger got blocked. Now, they're saying they want to merge because they want to compete with Walmart and Amazon and whoever else, Costco. The merger got denied because, well, I shouldn't say because, but what I read was one of the justifications for denying the merger was that it wouldn't allow employees to get a fair wage. In other words, less options for employment means less options for better wages, competitive wages. So I'm just going to call straight up bullshit on that. I don't know how to say it any other way. I'm going to call straight up bullshit on that. And one of the things that we talk about on this program time and time again is consumer advocacy, and speaking truth to power and scams. I think the unions are a scam. I really do. And I'm going to tell you why blocking this merger is a lie. I'm going to tell you why blocking this merger is BS. Not a lie, but why it's BS. When Amazon decided they wanted to merge with Whole Foods, lenders lined up to give them the money. It was an insane amount of money. Somebody go look up the amount of money that Amazon paid for Whole Foods and drop it in the chat, please. Nobody challenged that merger. The Amazon Whole Foods merger was predicated on something called the last mile. The idea of the last mile is bridging the gap from essentially the warehouse to the store to the customer's doorstep. Amazon saw Whole Foods as the missing piece to that puzzle. $13.7 billion acquisition. A $13.7 billion acquisition that Amazon could have financed themselves. They could have paid cash for it at the time. But people lined up to lend them money. So Amazon acquired Whole Foods because they wanted to get that last mile. Amazon's known for not paying their warehouse employees a fair wage. So the notion that Kroger and Albertsons merger is blocked because it's not good for employees, and the fact that they're trying to compete with Amazon and Costco, but the merger is being blocked because it's not good for employees, doesn't make any sense. Because actually, the Amazon Whole Foods merger wasn't good for employees, but it didn't get stopped. So this idea that the Kroger Albertsons merger is being blocked, to me, and I haven't done my homework on this, and I probably never will, but I'm certain that my intuition is speaking the truth here. Who blocked it, and where's the special interest money? Because at the end of the day, Amazon's a monopoly, all right? And it is a different version of a monopoly than we've ever seen before, because Amazon has a monopoly over multiple industries. Amazon started out as e-commerce, but the notion that Amazon has an internet monopoly, they have a retail monopoly, they have an e-commerce monopoly, they have a shipping monopoly, they have a grocery monopoly, So Kroger and Albertsons not being able to merge, in my opinion, will be the death of one of those two companies. And then what you're going to see is Walmart or Amazon acquiring whichever one of those two companies remains. Remember, I said it. Remember, I said that. Because Kroger and Albertsons merging together would actually be great for employees, because you'd have a larger, more stable organization that could be more competitive in terms of offering jobs to employees, but that would be bad for Amazon. You see what I'm saying? It's a false starter to say that Kroger and Albertsons merging is going to be bad for consumer wages. If the competition's Costco and Walmart and Amazon, then there's no way Kroger and Albertsons can survive on their own. So somebody who blocked that merger is being paid. Mark my words. Amazon's the real monopoly. They'd close stores, so close the stores. Close the stores. It doesn't matter. We're in an e-commerce world. All you need is warehouses. All you need is refrigerated warehouses. I mean, if you really want to pay, and that's what I'm saying. So what's going to happen here is one of these two companies is going to disappear, and then the other one's going to get scooped up by Amazon or Costco or Walmart, because it's going to feed into the last mile plan. We're not living in the same brick and mortar retail world. Okay, look how much Walmart has pivoted over the years to compete with Amazon. You can go on the Walmart's website right now, and anytime that I want to buy anything, okay, it's usually not available in the store. Okay, anytime that, and I don't use the Walmart website as much as I use Amazon. Okay, full disclosure. But it is very rare that I go to the Walmart website to buy something and it's actually in my store, according to the website. I oftentimes find things that are available from third party. So Amazon has forced Walmart to make that pivot. I think competition is a healthy thing, but I think these two smaller individual entities merging would be a threat to these larger companies. So now again, one of them will die and the other one will get gobbled up by one of the big three. And I just look at that and I go, somebody's getting paid. Because and to your comment over there on TikTok, the notion that the stores being too close together is problematic. It doesn't make any sense to me. You can solve these problems. I mean, you can shut down a store. You can keep both. I mean, that doesn't seem to be a wage issue for me. Now, maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a piece of that I'm missing. You want to call in and tell me? Please do. I'm all ears. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. But all I'm reading is we don't want you to create something that'll challenge something like Amazon. And Amazon, I mean, how many government contracts do they have? You know what I mean? Amazon is, and I love Amazon, but Amazon's the monopoly. Amazon's the monopoly. And you have to look at that, and you have to go, okay, why are some mergers allowed and others aren't? Like, if this shouldn't be allowed, then I don't understand why the Whole Foods Amazon merger was allowed. I don't. And I don't understand the concept of brick and mortar being the answer to that. I think at the end of the day, just like any other industry consolidation, when these things happen, the consumer gets the short end of the stick. And in this case, the consumer already has gotten the short end of the stick. I don't see how it hurts the workers. I would imagine Kroger and Albertsons merging would allow them to compete better with Amazon. But what do I know? That's why I have phone lines. So you can call me and tell me I'm wrong. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. So I'm ready to go back to Orlando. And we are now looking at, all right, so we're going to go back to Orlando. And now we're looking at doing possibly a marathon stream. All right. So I got to go back to Orlando. I got to solve a couple tech things over the next couple days. All right. So we'll continue doing what we do. We haven't done a Lego live in a while. We have another leaderboard thing we got to play to. So we got all these little things. We'll go to the park. We'll do Fortnite. But my goal in the next 2 weeks is to launch a marathon stream. I think having learned what I learned at the meeting the other day at TikTok, that I can achieve this. And what do I mean? I mean that I want to do all the things we've been doing together over the years, all of those things, in a marathon format, which means the live never stops. I see people doing it on other platforms. I haven't seen it done here in an effective way, in a quality way. But if I can pull this off, and I think I can, then we're going to do a marathon stream. So my goal when I wrap up the show with you all this morning is to spend a little time with you over on TikTok. All right. And then I'm going to try to get on an airplane. I'm going to try to get out of town early. Because now I'm so amped up to implement this new technology and to do a marathon stream. I told y'all I was only moving backwards to move forward. So if you want to see Legos and Fortnite and Disney World and the radio show and lasers and Kermit, whatever, I'm talking quite possibly the most epic stream in the history of TikTok lives. And that's what I'm working on. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. A non-stop marathon stream. But I got to do my work. I got to do the work. And I'm ready to go. And I said to Nick, I go, I'm ready to go home. And he goes, well, yeah, you accomplished what you came here to do. You've checked off all your boxes. So I'm ready to roll. I got my notes here. I am so ready to go. It'll be so much fun. So much fun. But you gotta look, what I've learned over the years, and it was really compelling talking to some of these other creators, and I learned so much talking to a couple of them, one guy in particular. But here's what I've learned. Most of these content creators, streamers that were at this TikTok event the other day, most of them, it was an accident. And we all have it in common. It was an accident. It was like they were doing something else. and they made a video or they decided to go live, and it was an accident. And it's kind of wild to me because for me, there was an accident too. But when you see other people have had that similar experience of catching lightning in a bottle, and now suddenly, like, how do we all get here? It kind of reminds you that not only did you catch lightning in a bottle, but you're not like alone. And I oftentimes feel like over the last few years of doing this, that like any day it would all just disappear. And I think my biggest takeaway from talking to folks at TikTok, talking to other creators, was the desire to keep widening, and the desire to keep being your authentic self. And a lot of people talked about how they felt like they were pigeonholed into something and they couldn't get out of it. And one of the questions that was asked to the room of us was, how many of you have live content that matches your video content? And it was a mixed bag in terms of the answers. But not everybody started the same way, right? Some people started live, some people started with videos. But in the pursuit of doing what they're doing, there are some people out there like, yeah, whatever, I just upload videos. And other people are like, no, everything matches. And then you run across a guy who's like, no, I have a system. Like, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then I categorize, and then I batch upload, and then when I'm done batch uploading, I create playlists. And you just talk to all these different people who all fell into this thing, all right, which is relatable, happy accident, changed their life, and then they decided that they had to implement workflow to scale. And so talking to people and realizing that, I'm not alone in that, and realizing that some of the things that I thought were the wrong way to do things, and I'm really speaking technical stuff, right? Could be done a different way. So there was some real value in talking to content creators that don't, like, not theme park creators, just other content creators that have been trying to figure out on their own, that don't necessarily have anyone helping them, that don't necessarily have the background or the understanding of these things. So they figured out on their own, true entrepreneurial spirit. But like this one guy I was talking to, he's just about to break 1 million. And he's got down to a science. He's going three lives a day. And then when he's done doing the lives, he's downloading the replays, and then he's uploading I'm like, you don't stop. And I think that's one of those things where, like, and this was posed in the room too, is like, how do you disconnect? Because the grind throws you on a wheel. And what happens is, if you never stop, right, you will hit a burnout. And these are all conversations we're having. And to hear other people talking about these things was so relatable. So for me, that 4, 5, 6 weeks off, whatever it was, I don't think it was quite 6 weeks, but whatever it was actually an attempt to avoid burnout and to start looking at the pieces that have piled up over the years and figuring out how to reorganize these pieces in a way that is going to contribute to growth, that is going to create a much easier workflow for myself so that I can focus on doing more and more of the things that I want to do. So it was interesting because you oftentimes feel like nobody's going to understand where you're coming from, and to just be surrounded by people that you can speak in that shorthand to. And I'm taking notes. Things are popping up in my head right now. I'm taking notes. I'm a notes taker. But it was really awesome. So what I'm saying is, I want to go back. I want to do a marathon. And and what I mean by that is the live will never end. And that means we can start in the house. We can go to Disney World. We can go wherever else we're going. And then we can go back to the house. And the live will never end. And it will never be in violation of community goal. That's my goal. So with all that being said, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm ready to get out of here because I'm chomping at the bit to implement what I've learned, But I'm ready. And I think I think the other thing I learned, and I will give Sharif all the credit in the world for this, is being your authentic self. And, don't judge somebody by who they are on camera either, because I adore that guy. But, and I said this to him the other night, like, you just do your thing. Like, you don't care. Like, you're just your authentic self. And, like, you've seen in the last few weeks, like, whether it's Kermit, the laser, whatever it is, like, I'm just holding back, and there's no driving. And I am going to start to share more and more of that side of me because, being in the parks and doing the whole broadcaster thing, it's 76 degrees and coming up next, whatever. Like, that's fun. But, like, cutting loose and just having a good time, and I think, we can do all of that and still respect the roots of the channel, not deviate away from the parks, but just cut loose more. Like, I'm ready to just cut loose. A little spring cleaning at the same time, because some people, and this was the other conversation, is like, you're always going to lose followers. Just keep doing you, because when you do that, the ones you gain are going to be the ones you want. So these are the things I've learned. And it really just means you get to spend quality time with the people that want to spend time with you. And I understand that the conventional notion is, oh, he should be in the park. He should be in the park. But after 3.5 years, we've ridden all these rides 100 times. And I've got years of replays I'm sitting on. So I could easily play a replay, okay, and satiate all of your desires. All right? Like, I don't have to be in the park every waking moment of my life. And if I'm going to scale this, and we're going to blow up all of our platforms, and we're going to break 1 million, and we're going to build a media enterprise, and we're going to get the podcast in the top 20 in a year, and we're going to do all of these things, then you have to have more time. It's a time versus money equation. I talk all the time about this. Most folks do not have a monetary value tied to their time. They may have a wage, they get paid by the hour at work, but they don't associate their time with a monetary value, right? So in other words, I only have so much time today, I may or may not cut the lawn. Well, maybe you're better off paying somebody to do it because your time's worth more. You see what I'm saying? In other words, I can't afford to cut the grass. I'm not even talking about me because I have an HOA. But I'm just saying, like, the notion of I can't afford to cut the grass because my time's worth too much. I'll pay somebody else. You see what I'm saying? My time's too bad. And I think if people start to look at their time that way, it would change a lot of perspectives. So I look at all that, and I look at my time spent, and I say, look, you gotta sometimes you gotta ramp down to ramp up, and I sometimes just need the time. There's not enough time in the day. So by implementing the AI tools and by creating a way to do the long, never-ending lives and all of this, it will free up time, and we'll be able to do some of the stuff we've never done before. I've been talking about doing the animatronics on the lives for the longest time ever. So finally, things will start to integrate because of what I've learned on this trip. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm very, very thankful for that. And I'm thankful for those of you that want to go on that ride with me. It's going to be cool. And I don't, look, I'm not being cryptic, but if I just start to actually explain to you these things, I'm going to lose the audience because it's a bunch of tech jargon, okay? I mean, if I start to talk to you about ports and port forwarding and, IP addresses and all this stuff, you're all going to be like, what? Like, can we talk about anything else? So I'm not going to do that to you. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540, although in many ways that almost reads like an IP address. But it's one of those things where I've had this idea for well over a year, and now I've got the answers. So I'm amped for it. And I don't want to sit here and just, bore you with the technical details, but I love the idea of doing a marathon stream. And I think this is going to be it. So I'm going to get back to town. I've already sent some messages to the folks at TikTok just to check some boxes off in terms of parts. I'm going to order what I need to order. I am going to take some time. You'll see me. I'm not going anywhere. But I'm going to figure out the technical side of it all. And once I get everything talking, all right, and figure out what the ports are and all that nonsense. Because honestly, it's the ports where I get hung up. Because if you know anything about the internet, ports and DNS and all that, that's where my head starts to explode, and I understand it just enough. So once I can get past all that and get all that hooked up, greatest way possible, right? And that means we'll be able to go from the parks to Fortnite to recording a radio show to back to the parks without ever stopping, which means you can be here and you don't have to go. You don't have, like, the thing that bummed me out yesterday was it's like doing a live hit at the World's Fair, but then at some point I got to end it because I go, World's Fair, now check out this presentation of whatever that I put together, even if it's a replay of an interview, and I'll see you at the end. And then I pop back on at the end of the interview, and I'm like, hey, now we're here, and we're doing this, you know? So if I that people say they can't find me, and I hear this from other creators as well who have subscribers who pay like $10 a month on a sub and don't get notifications that they're live. So one of the things that I want to do is just kind of create this marathon so that people like, oh, there he is. You know what I mean? There he is. And that's going to do a lot of things. That's going to throw up these numbers, these views. That's going to throw up the follower count. That's going to make a ton of money. It's going to do a lot of good things. So it's exactly what I want to do. And maybe if you're all lucky enough, we'll even have Ellis pop up, you know? Knock, knock. Who's at the door? It's Ellis. I'm here to return your dino nugget. Oh, just leave that and walk away slowly. It'll be fun. All right. So let's see. I don't really want to get too deep into this. The COVID reports. There are 2 COVID reports that came out from the Oversight Committee. And the idea of an Oversight Committee is that they should come together and release one cohesive report. And I started to read this 500-page COVID report on the airplane. And I'm like, some of this is insanely biased. Like, they put out a 500-page COVID report and like a 5-page COVID report. And it's like you're the Oversight Committee. If the Oversight Committee can't come together and release a report, a cohesive report together, then maybe we need a new Oversight Committee. You know, because one of the reports is saying that, oh, it was definitively created in a lab. So where are tax dollars going? You make a 500-page report that y'all don't even agree on? So go check it out. I mean, these are the problems I have with the government. Like, if y'all can't do your job the way you're supposed to, if the Oversight Committee can't put out, you know the old adage, high school never ends? Look at the world stage. Look at these world leaders and how they choose to interact with each other. It's like high school. You know? Bunch of grown-ups acting like children. The hell do we have you for? Now, let's what are you saying about the marathon? I don't listen. I'm not worried about it. I know what I'm doing. So I got to talk about this kid, and I can't even believe I'm about to say his name. But this Rizzler kid I'm telling you, he's gonna be a huge star. He's gonna be huge. You know what I'm talking about? And again, I cringed. I'm saying these things out loud. But the Costco guys on TikTok partnered up with this Rizzler kid. Most people think he's related to them. He's not. He's on his own. This Rizzler kid's got like 1 million followers on 11,000 or whatever. So he's got a lot of room for growth. So put out a Christmas wrap. And I looked, the first time I heard it, I was like, whatever. And then I started to read the comments and realized, like, the double entendres in the lyrics. I don't know who wrote this rap for this kid. So I went back and I watched Next Biggie, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, he's not. Just tried to start watching some of his videos. I'm like, this kid is a star. He's already been on Jimmy Fallon. And I know the Costco guys are out there, and they'll burn out at some point because he just wants to be a wrestler, the dad. And I think at the end of the day, that is the epitome of the algorithm pushing you. I mean, he's like 8 years old. He's a star. Go find this video of him rapping. It's brilliant. And then I went and found one of the first videos he posted, and he's playing Black Panther. It's like a little like YouTube type video he made that blew up. And he's just this hilarious little kid. And I look at that and I go, all right, like, is somebody out there in traditional media pop icon? I mean, he's adorable, and the lyrics were great. Whoever wrote that for him was brilliant. But what turned out as a joke, I went back, I'm like, this song is pretty good. And I can't believe I'm saying it. Are you breaking wind over there, Nick? Hello? Nick? Are you breaking wind? All right, yeah, go ahead. Ready? No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I think you have to tune that thing. All right. Thank you for making noise in the background. Appreciate that. Anyway, this Rizzler kid, it's a superstar. Go check him out. Needless to say, I reached out to those people. I'm like, we got to get this Rizzler on the podcast. Nick, this kid's adorable. Have you seen his videos? He's adorable. No, nobody can hear you. The other day, too. 253-263-1540. You can hear him. Because it's echoing. I know. That's all. It's too much, but it's not. And I think that this kid deserves his own show. And maybe not. Maybe he doesn't need his own show. Maybe this is it, right? Maybe legacy media is not where it's at. But the kid is he's a star, Nick. He's a star. So I want a Rizzler album. That's all. I'm hung. Well, that's one way to waste $1. It was on sale, marked down from $2, half off. I'm just saying, it's not even like the song. If I was in my proper setup, I'd play you a clip of the song. But it's not even a bad song because they got a real writer for it. I mean, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So that's all. I just had to say that. Sometimes I just have these notes of things that happened during the week, and I'm like, I got to share this with the audience because it just fascinates me. And I don't know why we're lagging over here, Nick. Seem to have all sorts of lag today. All sorts of lag. So, yeah. Oh, it's the middle of the week lag. A little bit about Luigi. And look, I'm still fascinated how McDonald's has had a year. I mean, can we just talk about how McDonald's has had a year? I don't know why the Christmas wrap is so good. That's what I'm talking about. The Merry Christmas. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, so and thank you, Vinny, for calling in and sharing. Vinny called in. Vinny was 4 years old when he went to the World's Fair. And he actually got a toy of that tire Ferris wheel. No. And it came with little people. And I thought, what a choke hazard. You know? But listen, you were the one that came back and started pulling up all the images. No. I know, but I mean, what does it take? I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, we should have another World's Fair. It's just sitting there doing nothing. Let's do it. So, it is. I mean, I wanted to go back. Now, I would imagine on a sunny day, it's much. Anyway, it's pouring there. I think it was raining here this morning. Was it raining here this morning? I feel like it was pouring. So that's the other reason. I want to go into the city again, but I don't want to deal with the rain. I'd rather just go back to Orlando. I'm done. I am done. So go check out the Merry Christmas video. I just thought stalking cast members. Okay. But I also have a huge issue with the fact that basically Disney is allowing this because at some point somebody will cross the line. Whether they're grabbing this guy, but it's just they're breeding something that is very, very problematic. And I've been saying it for a long time that when it comes to content creators in the park, it's all going to come crashing down when Disney's forced to react. And I see this tally situation as that they do. It's bagel day. And I talked about this on the show, I think, last week. And I was talking about leaders. And her 6-year-old kid basically was upset that they took bagels away from school. So she writes a letter. She has Laura write an email to one of the administrators and the note. And now the note is featured in like the newsletter and whatever. So you have the 6-year-old kid, taking charge of the situation. That's what they should call it. Also, we need somebody like her to reinvigorate the World's Fair. Yeah, I don't know why it's so bad over there. It's fine. It is what it is. I appreciate y'all. But like I said, this is just the beginning. I mean, we're going to get to a point with these radio shows where we're going to be ranking on the leaderboard every day. We're going to get to a point where we're going to be not just focused on TikTok and YouTube, but we're going to be on the podcast rankings. So we're just getting started here. We're just getting started here. Am I going to check out the light show at Citi Field? No. I have no desire. You got to understand something. I've worked on things like this, and it just becomes PTSD. And also, is it wrong to say I'm not that impressed by that? Like, I showed you the picture of those Christmas lights at Citi Field. It's cute. It's nice looking. It's a bunch of lights hooked up to a computer. And they're probably sound reactive. Probably not even programmed. All right, let's do the ads and get out of here. All right? We've said it all. Are you ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from Ski Maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. 305-213-5438. Last minute shopping from the parks. Did you buy an impulsive purchase and now you got to find a way to get it home? Check out my friends at the UPS store, 6526 Old Brick Road, located right behind the Magic Kingdom. They're going to help you out with not only shipping from the parks, but they'll help you out with a notary and P.O. box and packing and copies. So if you're local, destination planning. So whether you're looking for a Disney cruise, or just going to Disney, or maybe to another country, William will hook you up with a customizable experience and competitive rates. Check out William Bailey Travel. You can go to the form on my website and fill it out, royces.com, or email him at william.bailey@academytravel.com. And sometimes we're so worried about this life and the moment that, we're so worried about this life and this moment, we forget to plan for the life of those we leave behind. So estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees. Email to russell@rklawpro.com to schedule your appointment today. That's russell@rklawpro.com. Again, I want to thank all of our flags. A Pampered Chef box on its way. So I will share that with you on the live. I am very excited to see what, including stuff for another cooking live. So if you like those kitchen lives, I anticipate you'll see one of those in a few days. All right? I want to thank you all. Vinny, thank you so much for calling in. But I do appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.